background noise going on. Okay, so I'm going to start recording. Welcome to our July 2nd. How are we in July? What happened? July 2nd call. We got some new faces, some older faces on the call today, some special guests. So I'm excited to have all of you here. If you are in Canada, I know not everybody is, but hopefully you had a good Canada Day yesterday, got some celebrations in, not sure what everyone was up to, but we're back at it today. So today's call is all about getting visible. This is a topic that need not wait until a certain point in your business, because even from the early stages, it is so important to get yourself out there and to really start sharing with people what the heck you're up to. Because people can't guess what you're passionate about. They don't just read your mind when you sign up for a certification and all of a sudden get educated and I don't know, like herbalism or something. You need to put yourself out there, tell them, spread the good word, and that's really the topic of today's call. So we're going to chat about this a lot over the coming few months. It's a topic that I constantly come back to because I think sometimes we need the reminder that our businesses don't just grow by chance or by magic, but it does take a lot of dedicated work in showing up, putting yourself kind of on the front lines of your business and saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm passionate about. Do you know somebody else in this world who might be interested if you're not, right? Like seeding that referral. So there's so much to it. And before we jump in, I really I wanted to start today with some sort of movement or some sort of exercise, because I feel like this topic can get a little stressful. Knowing that you need to do a thing that you've never done before in order to get visible is slightly stress-inducing for a lot of people. For me, when I taught my very first workshop, when I decided to start posting more frequently on Instagram, it didn't come naturally to me either. And in fact, I would have rather hid under my covers and not shown up for my business on the majority of days. But I kind of had that deeper passion within me that I was like, but I want to share forward what I love and what I want to teach. And I want to be able to work for myself. And a lot of that came through just like busting through that fear and that painfulness of having to find ways to share my message in person and online. And so that's why I wanted to bring the amazing Steph onto the call. Steph is like everything. She's a massage therapist, a holistic nutritionist. I think it's called fascia stretch therapist. I'll let her do a quick intro, but I thought, what better way to start this call where we're going to get uncomfortable by doing something to release and to maybe try something you've never tried before with a butter knife. I hope this one's okay. So I'm going to let Steph unmute, share a little bit about her brilliance. Her and I connected. Isn't this weird that I'm just holding this? Her and I connected via Instagram many months ago, and we're now working together. But yeah, pass it over to you, Steph. I'm excited to get this call started with a little bit of movement and pain release with your expertise. So tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. So as Kelsey said, my name is Stephanie, and I am working on SLOC Holistic, which is a pain management and integrative manual therapy. So what that means is that I don't just focus on massage therapy, or I just focus on fascial stretch therapy. I use a lot of different modalities that are based in like traditional Chinese medicine, like what we're going to be doing today, and then right up to like the cutting edge science, brand new stuff that's being released today. So I build plans for people that are dealing with pain or want to stay pain-free that utilize a multiple different kinds of modalities to make completely individualized plans for them to get them to their goals. So the butter knife. So we were joking when we said bring a butter knife. This technique is actually based in something called gua sha, which is a traditional Chinese medicine that helps bring circulation. It helps like pull toxins out. It helps with like lymphatic drainage. So anybody who's like suffering with edema or hypertonic muscles, like that. It's a muscle scraping technique. So some of you may have heard of like Graston therapy. Graston therapy tends to be quite aggressive. This is not aggressive in any way. So it's never supposed to be painful or even really uncomfortable. It can be used anywhere on the body. So like you can't really do damage doing this as long as you're not digging into anything. So before I demonstrate this, do any of you guys have any pain or discomfort in joints, muscles, headaches, necks, anything like that that you want me to specifically demonstrate these techniques on? Anybody?
That's a great question. Carrie's raising her hand, so I want her to unmute.
Of course I do. I don't know. Steph and I went to school together, so she's helped me in the past with these little aches and pains and things that I've had before. And so she's been just amazing, just with a few simple techniques. We can do this with the knife. So here is where, like in the back of the neck, sleeping wrong, either a pillow's too high or some way you've slept. So that's where I find that I do get a lot of, like kind of neck pains and things like that. So I think a lot of us have experienced that before.
Yeah, typical entrepreneur too, like on a computer.
Right? Or like right in your traps, like right up in here. Mm-hmm.
I had a feeling we'd be doing next today. That's why I wore a tank top, so I can show everything. This was all planned. I was like, there's no way nobody on this call has neck pain or doesn't have neck pain. So considering all of us are on this call, it means every one of us is dealing with some sort of online business, which means we probably spend a lot of time in front of a computer or at least at a desk making notes and things. That means we're usually going to be rounding shoulders forward. We're going to get tighter through the chest muscles. The neck muscles are going to get pretty bad. The traps, all these different areas that then tend to contribute to like headaches and just that uncomfortable stiff neck, or you get the cramps in like the upper back or the muscle spasms. So this is a technique that you can use to kind of rehab that, but also prehab that. So if you do this often enough, you should decrease the likelihood of getting those symptoms in the first place. So taking your knife, you either want to use the blunt edge or the handle. I'm going to use the handle because it's a little bit thicker. And I did bring my regular blade so you guys can see. So you can actually see the edges of my knife and my actual blade are very, very similar in thickness. So the knife is quite effective for this. So you don't even have to invest in tools. The nice thing about tools is they have all these different contours. So that's really the only big benefit. So I'm going to show the neck first. So you guys can pick any area that is uncomfortable. You're just going to follow the same techniques. So you can do this on like the bottoms of your feet. You can do this on like in and around your knee, your forearms if they're feeling really tight, any sort of area. So with my knife here, I am going to start just below my ear and work down my neck. Okay, so what this is doing is we are creating a little bit of micro trauma. So you should start seeing like redness on the skin. We want enough pressure that'll create some of that redness because that's blood coming to the surface, and that's micro damage to the capillaries. So that actually stimulates an enzyme which helps break down like toxins and inflammation, inflammatory proteins. I'm not going to go like too sciencey here on you guys. I'm a huge science nerd, so I'll spare you. But a little bit of redness is a good thing. And so right from like the back of your neck down, the deeper long strokes should always be going down and towards the heart. Okay, so if I was going to do this on my forearm, I'm going to come towards my heart. Always. If you come down the other way, you're going to be blocking up the lymphatic nodes and creating more congestion. We can then move into the traps. So we started distally. My head is the farthest from my heart, so I'm starting up here and then I'm moving down. Okay, so on the trap, kind of the base of the neck, I'm going to move out towards my shoulder, following the line of that muscle. Trying to see if you guys can see the redness in the camera there at all. Okay. Everybody's like super still. Everybody else is muted. I was like, everybody's like nice and silent doing this. It's relaxing. Okay. We can do the chest too. So the pec minor is another one of those muscles that gets really, really tight. So as our shoulders pull forward from being in a hunched position while we're on the computer or studying or working or whatever else, these muscles get really tight. So starting at right in the base of the shoulder, you can kind of drop into that gap. We're going to move along the collarbone. Okay. So these are the attachment points of the pec muscles. So by working along these, we're going to decrease that tension. And again, I'm always moving towards my heart. You can see that redness creating there. I wish I could say that was just a tan. It's definitely not. All right. So I'll show you guys like one more area. So the reason I like demonstrating this on the neck is to really drive home that you can't really do damage with this if you're using nice gentle pressure. So the neck is probably the most delicate area to blade because we've got all the arteries and the nerves that are very close to the surface here. Whereas anywhere else in the body, you're not going to have those delicate structures there, right? So I can even blade my neck. So we've got the scalenes here. We've got the SCM here. These muscles get tight and start pulling our head forward. Okay, and they just get really hypertonic. So we're just going to kind of drop the chin up towards the ceiling, drop the ear back towards the opposite shoulder. That puts all of these tissues on stretch. And then again, from my chin and the bottom of my jaw, I'm just going to work down towards my collarbone. Okay, this is also helpful for any jaw tension. So for anybody who like struggles with TMJ dysfunction or you get like the jaw clenching, this can be really helpful for that. Yeah, so you guys can spend like anywhere from like a minute to 2 minutes on any given spot. Blading, just like if anybody does rolling or anything like that on lacrosse balls or myofascial rollers, the key with these kind of techniques is always frequency over duration. You don't want to like go to town on one muscle for like 20 minutes. You will create too much micro damage, and then you'll have like that delayed muscle soreness the next day. And then, yeah, it's not going to help. It's going to do more damage. So 1 to 2 minutes on any area is probably a good plan. And then frequency. So once or twice a day on any area that's really causing you problems will be really effective. Is there anywhere that you guys want me to specifically demonstrate that the neck didn't help, or any questions you guys have?
If you do have any questions, feel free to unmute or type them in the chat. That felt so good. I'm like, can't wait.
I agree. Like so much of a difference. All of a sudden I was like, oh, this side feels tight now. Like,
yeah.
I just have a question. How would you do that like on your back where like there's so many bones in with your muscles?
Yeah, so the back.
Like I have a lot of low back pain.
Okay. So the low back you can get to a little bit depending on your shoulder mobility. Upper back is a little bit more challenging. So that would be like, you'd kind of have to show somebody how to do this to you so they can work around your scaps. I have pretty good shoulder mobility, so I can get into a lot of these areas myself. I can get around my scapula. And then like doing your lower back is pretty easy if you've got the mobility to do so, right?
And you just put it like right over your spine like that?
Oh yeah. So
just kind of beside it.
My spine's there. I'm off the spine.
Okay.
Okay, so you want the big muscles in your back that run along the spine are the erector spinae group. And then we've also got the QLs in there. And when QLs get imbalanced, that's when we start getting pulled to one side. And that's what generally causes like that SI joint pain, hip pain, low. So you kind of want to figure out which side your tension is on and then work specifically through that side.
On that side.
Never directly on your spine.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
That was so good. Thank you for sharing that. Can you type your info where people can follow you on Instagram?
Yeah.
Website is amazing. Type that in the chat. And yeah, I love hearing you talk about this stuff because like you're such a master of your craft. And I love seeing people show up and just teach what they're good at, because like that's never something I've ever even heard of, is to use to kind of just like release some tension and pain. And yeah, it's always fun to just like pick up on a new skill. So thank you for coming on. I hope you can stay for the call today, but I think now we're all ready to chat about the scary stuff, like getting visible in our business, now that we feel a little calmness and a little more stress.
We can like decrease the tension before we have to speak on calls and things like that.
Exactly. Like I might just have one of these.
This blade never leaves my desk. I get people looking at me funny. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm blading my neck. Is that not a normal thing in this world?" Anyway, thank you for having me on because I love teaching and sharing this stuff. And for any of you guys that do want proper laser sidekick tools, there's actually a link on my website to get 25% off of these guys. They run, the cheaper one is $50 and it's made of like a stone. This one's $90 because it's stainless steel. If I can drop it, I'm not going to break it. But yeah, worth looking into. But your butter knife will do plenty. You don't need the specialized tool at all.
I love it.
We'll type both of those pieces of information into the chat box and let's get on with the rest of the call.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Steph. And just to anybody else, if you ever have something that you'd like to share on the call, like please reach out to me. I'm always happy to kind of see how we can fit it in. And I don't know, a little movement before we get into some sort of lesson or teaching is really nice, even if it's just like stretching your fingers or who knows. So, all right, I'm going to share my screen. We are going to get started on today's lesson. Okay, so here we go. The topic is getting visible, and we did the reducing tension with the butter knife, so we can get right into it. So I'm showing you a picture of an iceberg here because, as you can see, with something like an iceberg, to the naked eye, to the person who's just cruising along or who goes touring and sees that, they're really only seeing the tip, right? What is above the water. And that's kind of how I see visibility and showing up fully self-expressed in your business, is that the majority of people, when they first start, when they're in their first year or 2 or 3 of launching an online business and trying to figure out kind of what their niche is and what their specialty is, you're kind of living in that tip, right? You're showing a little bit of yourself, but I know, and you know, that there is so much below the surface, so much deeper, that you are not really sharing. Maybe you haven't thought about how your past life experience can contribute to what you do today. Maybe you didn't think that those weird quirks and weird characteristics that only you have could somehow come to the surface and actually make you a better business owner. And the problem is that when we only show like that 5 or that 10% of what we think we're supposed to put forward into the world, we try to put on kind of the best version of ourselves and only show up when it feels right and when we have it all together. Well, we're missing out on that other 95%, that other 90% that is our magic, that is what makes us the unique business owner or entrepreneur that only we can be. There are a million people starting yoga studios. There are millions of people starting online health coaching businesses. There are so many people trying to put products and services out into the world on any given day. So by you playing in only a small percentage of who you really are, you become this commodity. You're showing up like everybody else is. Anyone can do what you do because you're forgetting to kind of look back at the history of your life, and maybe it was what you were teased for as a little kid, or what your parents always told you, like, stop doing that, stop being so loud because, you know, we need to be quieter in public. Like, what is it about you that is different, that is special, that can really help to separate you. And that's what I want you to get more visible with. That's what I want you to put out into the world, because I always say this when I'm teaching at CSNN, and it's not to knock on nutritionists, but you'll notice that a lot of nutrition and health coaches, they're always posting the picture of the kale salad or the picture of the green smoothie, which is great. Like, we all love a kale salad or a green smoothie, but when we start to see that over and over and over again, it just becomes, you know, like, okay, there's another nutritionist posting her salad recipe. What makes yours different? Is yours so easy that you could whip it together in 5 minutes? Can only you like rearrange the nuts and fruit on a salad to be super picturesque? Do you love hassle-free meals? Or like, what is it that you can do to make yourself stand out? So I always come back to this question of, in a world where our customers are inundated with options when it comes to where they spend their money, why are they going to spend their money with you? And are you reminding them by getting visible that your services are available? Because at any given moment, I could be targeted with a new brand of coffee. And if I'm not reminded by seeing visibility of my favorite coffee brand, I may switch and I may never go back to that previous brand. So it is so important, because people have options when it comes to which coach they invest with, which fitness class they want to do, which massage therapist they want to choose. So visibility is key. Showing up consistently is key. So that's what we're talking about. So I want you to reflect on a few of these questions, and I would ask too, if you have something that comes to mind, which I hope you have, you know, something that pops into your head, please feel free to write it in the chat box. I want to keep this super conversational. So first question, what are your fears around becoming more visible? What do you guys think? Type in the chat. What are your fears around becoming more visible? Is it that you're fearful your ex-boyfriend is going to see? Are you fearful that you're going to be judged for what you love? Are you fearful that somebody's going to like debunk you and be like, that's not the truth, right? She doesn't know what she's talking about. Fear of judgment or people's expectations. Yeah, judgment is a huge one, right? Because you put something forward that you created, you express yourself, and then there's a fear that maybe someone says, that's stupid, that's silly. That somebody knows way more than me. Yeah, fear that you don't know enough to get more visible, right? That you don't have the chance yet to be on that platform and to teach what you know. Very common stuff. I don't want to annoy people. Yes. Oh, that is such an interesting thought. But this is what comes to mind for what Becky wrote, is that keeping your services to yourself is selfish. I feel like I annoy people sometimes, especially when I'm in a launch, but to the average person, they still like don't know what I do, or they still like are trying to figure out whether this program is right for them. So I feel like I show up till I'm blue in the face, but at the same time, nobody's really watching that closely. And if I don't show up, I don't get people like you to experience the visionary method. And for someone like Becky, nobody would get to experience the life-changing magic of Pilates if we don't show up. And so I really sympathize with that one, because it kind of sucks to talk about the same thing over and over, but you want to become known for that thing. And that may annoy 1 or 2 people, but the other 99% of people, they will love learning from you. Priyanka says, yes, annoying people. Fear that people will leave and unsubscribe. And I think we can all kind of agree on that one, that sucks. If you ever watch your unsubscribes on an email list, or if you intend to start an email list, you will realize, yep, when you check in on the update, you'll see exactly who unsubscribed. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But once again, like, we're going to celebrate those unsubscribes because it allows us to get visible to the right people, right? We don't want to get visible to people who don't give a shit about our message. We want to stay visible to the people who care, to the people who love what we talk about, to the people who see that we are expressing ourselves through our business. Fear that my friends aren't my market or not sure where to find my market. Yep, so finding the right people to get visible to. So good. Thank you for all sharing that. Another thing to ask yourself, have you ever tried to put yourself out there with little response or feedback? Or maybe you got negative feedback. So maybe, you know, if you have something to say on that one, please type it in the chat, because I think we've all had a moment in our life when we tried to get more visible, or when we felt that confidence to step on stage and take the lead in our school play. And then maybe you failed and you fell flat on your face. So maybe putting yourself out there has like some sort of negative connotation to you because you remember a time when that didn't work. So there's definitely some kind of past trauma for some people around getting visible. You have to ask yourself, do you want to become more of yourself? And do you want to get visible and show who you really are? Because it is kind of easier to just stay in the body and in the at the level that you currently are. Getting visible kind of requires you to leap through your own skin and be like, okay, I'm gonna really show people like what's inside and what I love and who I am. I want you to think about if you know anyone that is 100% themselves, or what you deem to be them acting as themselves, who is fully expressed in their business, and keeping them in mind as a role model as we go through the lesson. And really just tracking them to see what is it that they're doing that I'm attracted to, or why does it work for them to show up and just be super visible, and why am I holding back? And the last question to ask yourself is, who are you beyond the titles that you have? Like, yeah, you're an accountant. Okay, but who are you more than that? Yeah, you're a personal trainer, but who are you more than that? Yeah, you got your certification as a yoga teacher, but who are you? When somebody asks you, who are you? What do you say if you can't say the titles? For a lot of people, this is where they freeze up, right? And so there's some digging that we need to do there. Like, who are you really? So we're going to talk about all of that stuff. Last thing I want to share, it's actually something I heard from the author Elizabeth Gilbert. She said, who walks into the room and makes you want to be less visible? Who is on your social media or on your Facebook, or who is in your peer network that you actually stop sharing, or you don't want to be yourself because you're afraid of what that one or two people will think? I swear there's always one or two people that you're like, I don't want to post this because they're going to think differently of me. They're going to judge me. And ask yourself, why do I feel this way of that person? Why am I holding back my true self for that one person who probably, it doesn't even matter what they think, but yet it's really affecting how you show up? I talk about this all the time. It's not something I hear talked about a ton, but I've realized through just tracking a lot of successful people and talking to a lot of entrepreneurs that the more you are able to fully self-express and just like rip off like the shell, rip off the exterior that you've built up over the last few decades, the more your business will grow. People see that truth within you, that passion within you, and there's something magnetic about being fully self-expressed. The easiest example that I might share on that would be somebody like Lady Gaga back in the day. Like, she was different. She was wearing like crazy clothes. Her performances were insane. And she had that tribe of little monsters. So like, she was not fully self-expressed to attract everybody into her audience. It was for that small group of misfits, of like quirky, weird people who wanted to dress up to go to concerts. So she was fully self-expressed, which attracted the exact people who loved what she shared. And of course, she became a wickedly successful celebrity. So that's just something that I can share to you that most people can relate to. But a lot of business owners too. The more they really find their voice, the more they find what quirks they have that make them different, is the more they really start to see that rapid success in their business. And it feels good at that point, right? Because they're doing exactly what they feel like they're on this earth to do. I'm going to share a few tips on getting visible here. So first tip, what you do is a commodity. I've shared this many times as well. There are a lot of people who are already doing what you do or what you aspire to do. So think about that. Can you think of 5, 10 people who are already kind of doing something similar? They have similar products, similar services. I'm assuming for most of us, the immediate answer is, yeah, there are a lot of marketing coaches out there, right? There are a lot of nutritionists out there. So if what you do is a commodity, and really there are hundreds, if not thousands of people who are doing that thing as well, then what's going to set you apart? So I want to share a story of a parrot. Oftentimes when I'm teaching, I look up fables or children's stories that help me to really understand a concept and to explain it in language that we can all understand. So I'm going to quickly share a story of the jealous parrot, and I hope it leaves some sort of lesson with you. And if you're ever like struggling with a concept, always check if there's a fable written on that concept, because it will really just, I don't know, it's very inspiring to read fables, I find. They always make the message hit home for me. Okay, so we're going to talk about the jealous parrot quickly. It's a story really about getting visible and being unapologetically you. So hear me out for the next 2 minutes. Peter Parrot came home upset and confused. "What's wrong?" his mother asked. He said, "I hate my stupid beak." His mom said, "Why do you hate your beak?" "I think it's beautiful." "Well, all of the other birds have much cooler beaks. Sammy Spoonbill, Pammy Pelican, Harry Hawk, Freddie Finch, all of them." Peter's mother sat silently for a moment, and she said, "He might be right. They do have very cool beaks. You should go see Major Macaw. He'll know what to do. He's the wisest of the parrots and lives in the tallest tree in the forest. Yes, he'll know what to do." So Peter Parrot flew to the tallest tree in the forest and found Major Macaw. He said, "Major Macaw, I have a problem. I have a stupid beak. Why can't I have a cool beak like Sammy Spoonbill, Pammy Pelican, Harry Hawk, or Freddie Finch?" "You're right," said the macaw. "They do have cool beaks. Tell me, Peter, do you like eating worms and crustaceans?" "Yuck, that would be disgusting," responded Peter. "Well, that's what the spoonbill's beak is designed for." "What about fish? Do you like fish?" "I couldn't think of anything worse," said Peter. "So the pelican's beak would work either." What about rabbits and mice?" "Ew," said Peter. "Okay, so maybe you shouldn't aspire to have a hawk's beak. Small seeds? They're not so bad, but my favorite is Brazil nuts," exclaimed Peter, salivating at the thought. "That's lucky. I think I have a few here. Would you like one?" asked Major Macaw. Peter's eyes lit up. "Yes, please." "Tell me, Peter, if you had the beak of spoonbill, pelican, hawk, or finch, do you think you could eat that Brazil nut?" "I guess not," said Peter with his mouth full. "You see, young parrot, you have been designed a certain way, with certain skills, attributes, and tastes. Don't waste your life being envious of the capacities of others. Just make sure you know what you're good at and why you're here." Peter nodded his head in understanding and flew home with much more content. You were designed for a specific purpose. Don't worry about the skills and attributes of others. They have their own purpose, which doesn't even suit you. You have the ability to do remarkable things just as you are. Work on that purpose, get better at those skills, and then go change the world. So there's the story of our little pelican friend. But it's true, right? Like, think about it. You might be watching what somebody else is doing, which is making you want to be less visible, but they have their own mission. They have their own tools, life history that sets them up for where they are today. So that's not our mission. And, you know, coming into more of who we are is truly the secret sauce to success. The entrepreneurial journey is usually a personal growth journey masked as a business. So remind yourself that the more you grow, the more your business grows. The more you get visible and express yourself, the more your business does grow. And in the early stages, it's easy to kind of just like, you know, play by a certain formula, but that's not going to lead you to, you know, changing the world or accomplishing whatever vision you have. Tip number 2 on getting visible is do it frequently and consistently. I know that's showing up 5 times a week with short form content, at least 1 time a week with long form content. That is 100% required for you to grow your business. We talked about this on last week's call, I believe. So again, 5 times a week, you should be posting, getting visible with short form content, such as an Instagram post. That doesn't take you more than 5 minutes, 5 times a week. 1 time a week to get visible, you should be posting some form of long form content where you really expand, you go deeper for the people who want to know every last detail. Maybe it's being on a podcast. Maybe it's writing an email. Maybe it's writing a blog post. Maybe it's like writing an article for mindbodygreen.com. I don't care what it is, but there needs to be some sort of frequency and consistency with you showing up. So ask yourself, are you doing that right now? Or do you have any sort of plan? And I know some of you are like, well, I'm still really early. I don't really know my ideas. Doesn't matter. You got to start practicing. Maybe you just share about your dog 5 times a week. That's great too. Then people can get to know you. Or maybe you start talking about what it is that lights you up, what your different services will be, tips like, you know, Steph could just share like a different place to butter knife yourself every single day, right? Like that's awesome content. Short form, and then maybe a long form, she does a guided YouTube video that's 20 minutes long. So frequency and consistency breed trust. People buy from those that they trust. People buy when you show up frequently and consistently, right? Because it's more touch points. Remind them, remind them, remind them, remind them. Allow them to go deeper with you. But if you have nothing available, if nothing's going out, how are they supposed to build that trust factor, which leads to them pulling out their credit card and your cash register ringing, right? So frequency and consistency are important. I have a book that I was just reading, and this paragraph kind of stuck with me that I thought I'd just quickly read to you. You have to tell the world why you're in the market you're in. That's a great piece of content. You have to reveal your hopes and dreams. So like, do you hope everybody goes vegan? Start talking about that. Do you hope everybody lives pain-free? Talking about that. You have to share your current frustrations. What is wrong with the industry you work in right now? What are you frustrated with that others are doing? Because that sets you guys apart. When you look at what everyone else is doing and go, you know what? I've always been frustrated at the caliber of Pilates classes. Never found one that had the right music, the right lighting. So I'm finally going to create that. You have to share your personal failures, right? Maybe it was that, you know, you dealt with pain or brushed pain off for so many years. And that's why you got into this. You have to share what you've achieved so far and what you're still struggling to achieve. So it is okay to show up and say, look, I'm putting together this nutrition program that helps people with IBS, but I'm still going through it too. I'm doing the best, but here's where I'm at so far. Here's what's worked. Let me share that with you. Don't be afraid to show people that you don't have it all together. You're still going through it, but you're learning. You're, you know, a continual student of your own experience. Like, do you guys think I have online marketing completely figured out? Hell no, it's changing all the time, but I'm constantly testing and learning so that I can continue to teach from what I know. Do that with honesty and passion, and you'll achieve success beyond anything you could ever expect. Fail to do that, become just one among hundreds of also ran Me Too businesses. And you'll become a commodity, forever cutting your prices, okay? So again, don't strive to be one of the hundreds that are just doing the basics of business. just putting up the class, not worrying about the quality. You know, share your journey with honesty. It's okay to get visible when you don't have it all together. And this book is by someone who I love learning from. He's quite old. His name's Jay Abraham. And it's called The Sticking Point Solution. So really awesome book. It's all about how to move your business from stagnation to stunning growth. And it's written for tough economic times, which I think is hilarious because the book is super old, but it's so applicable to going through COVID. And he talks about growing a business through crisis. So crazy. So yeah, third tip on getting visible. There's no wrong way to do it. So do not wait for me to give you a one-page guide on getting visible. Do not wait until you feel ready. You're never going to feel ready to start showing up in a bigger way in your business. Maybe teaching a workshop or a webinar, maybe putting up your first Instagram post, maybe teaching, you know, the way you like to take your baths every evening for stress release, whatever. There's no wrong way to do this. I cannot give you the formula for success, but I can give you a formula for failure, and that's to not start, right? To never start sharing what lights you up. So I'm going to give you a challenge at the end of the today that's going to inspire you to get going on this right away. So yeah, no wrong way to do it. And really on that, like whether you feel like getting visible online, whether you feel like getting visible in person, doesn't matter. Just pick a way. Getting visible to you might be mentioning your business idea with every family member you see in the next 2 weeks. That's perfect. Getting visible to you might be using social media. It might be asking somebody to be on their podcast. It might be experimenting with your first YouTube video. Whatever you need to do, right? And visibility, it works. I just had one of our students, she was on the last call, Anya. She was on my podcast, and she's a run coach. So we featured her a few weeks ago, and she messaged me and she's like, oh my God, I've never done a podcast before, but after being featured on your show, I got a call from someone I didn't know, and they wanted run coaching. And it turns out it was another woman who's in our visionary community. She heard the podcast, was like, I need a running coach. I want to do an online training program. Contacted Anya, and Anya was like, I've never had somebody who's not a friend or a family member or a past person from my yoga and running classes. Never had someone like that reach out. So getting visible works, right? It's that easy. She shared her journey on the podcast, and you know, next thing you know, she had a paying client. So the real question that we all have to ponder now is, how much longer are we going to hide? And that doesn't mean like hide as in not sharing anything at all, but is there something within you that's like, that's me, like I should be sharing that? For myself, it often comes back to sharing the story of how I started my business. It was inspired by a Justin Bieber song. That's embarrassing, but the moment I just owned that and I was like, yeah, I was listening to Bieber, and I decided to start a business the next day because he said a word, and the word was visionary. You know, the whole long version of that. But same time, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to share that more often because I think it gives people a little giggle, and it gives them like a starting point of like, oh, well, tell me more about your business. So that's often what I do in a 2 truths or a lie situation. Okay, so your action items for today. So I want you to grab a piece of pen, grab the whole pen and a piece of paper, and let's think about in the next 5 minutes. So let's say the 5 minutes following this call. I want you to grab a blank piece of paper and write, who am I? Who am I? And what qualities do I have that I'm not showing? So who am I, and what qualities do I have that I'm not showcasing? So on this paper, you might write things like, I am a dreamer. I am super positive. I am very caring. I am a lifelong learner, like Steph has in her Instagram bio. These are cool things to continue to share. So spending 5 minutes writing, who am I and what qualities do I have that I'm not yet sharing? Might feel uncomfortable. Then in the following 60 minutes, I want you to circle one of those traits, one of those qualities. Or maybe it's lifelong learner. And I want you to devise an action plan for how you're going to share that quality tomorrow. So if, lifelong learner pops up under who am I, then you're going to take some time in this following 60 minutes or however long you have to say, how could I get visible with this quality tomorrow? So maybe for lifelong learner, you're going to jump on Instagram Live and you're going to take people on a tour of your bookshelf and be like, oh my God, this book is amazing. I'm so geeky on this topic, whatever, right? Like showing that you're constantly investing in your learning. And then you're going to do the thing tomorrow, okay? So this is very specific. Do that brainstorm, circle one item and figure out how you're going to present that to get more visible tomorrow. And tomorrow, do the thing. So you might have to schedule it in 9 a.m., 5 p.m., whatever works for you. And I'll post something in the Facebook group. So once you complete the thing, we'd love for you to share it with us. And I'll end you on this question. Will the real you please stand up? Not the fake you, not the you that you thought you needed to be to make people happy. Social media, people always say it's saturated. It's, there's too many people. Everyone's talking about the same thing. It's only saturated because people are just doing it the same as everybody else. They're just trying to be marginally better than the average person in their industry. They're not using their unique superpowers to be different. We pay attention to what's different. We ignore what is average. Okay, so if people seemingly are ignoring your content, it's because it might not be different. So keep getting visible, but do it in a way that really allows you to shine your quirks. And this is not an overnight success thing. It certainly takes time to figure out your visibility strategy. Marketing is visibility, so we're going to be talking about this over the coming weeks. So if you want to join next week's call, we're going to be talking about getting visible on camera with my friend Sarah Monica, who's an amazing, amazing photographer. So if you want to join in for that, please do. And then we'll continue on with just a bit more chat around putting ourselves out there. Jasmine, yes, such a good question. She says, is anyone going to care about my qualities? There will be a lot of people who don't care. And that is, again, a good thing. Because you're only looking to build that small, viable audience of people who appreciate you for who you are, who are so sick of like the blandness of every other business, who, in your case, Jasmine, yes, there are a lot of businesses that offer organization services, or I'll help you get organized before you move. So is there a quality that you have? Like maybe you're just like super particular about color coding everything or labeling everything, or I don't know, like the fact that you do it with kids and you're a multitasker and you can have a million things going on and still get them organized. What is it about you that you can infuse into your business? And yes, people will care because, again, going back to people pay attention to what's different. They ignore what's average or the same. So if you want your organization services to be the same, then you become that commodity, right? It's like I could hire Jasmine or I could hire Joe, but there's really nothing different about them. Like I don't really care whether I get to know Jasmine or Joe. Who cares? Commodity, I'll buy either of them. What's the lowest price? We don't want people to do that to you. We want them to feel like they've heard your story. They've heard you overcome your own challenges with organizing your home. They've heard, in Jasmine's case, that she's moved many times. That's why she's starting this business. That's your magic. That's what you have to get visible about. Otherwise, you're putting yourself on the same playing field with the other moving service or organization service in your area.
I have one more question. Are we done? Or are you doing another slide?
Nope, that's the last slide, I think. So yes, ask your question. That's done.
Okay. So I guess like my question is, we've talked about how like you should, specialize in one thing, and I agreed with like that. I just want to specialize in the one thing, but I've had the opportunity to, one of my friends asked me to go help her with some things, just organizing in her house, as much as that's not really like my end goal. But still like promoting that and stuff, is that like starting at a lower level and then kind of, do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I think any experience in the early days is great experience, because that person, your friend, can then give you a testimonial, maybe not of the specific service you'd like to be offering in the future, but she can speak to your character. She can speak to your skill set of organizing, cleaning, decluttering. And yeah, those are things too that put you in the work, right? You're not just sitting back building this organizational business and putting the website live and getting your photos and getting the sales page up and then expecting people are going to flock to it. You're actually getting out there and you're getting practice, which gives you content to share. You might be at your friend's house and you realize like her underwear drawer is chaos. So you're like, I'm going to write a blog post and share some Instagram stories about how to organize your undergarments drawer. It puts you in the work. It gives you data to be like, okay, her bedroom was fine. I don't need to organize people's bedrooms, but her pantry was a freaking mess. Like maybe I need to specialize on pantry organization. So it's okay to be a generalist in the early days and to stray away from your core service while you figure out, okay, like who are the people that are going to pay attention? Who's going to pay me for my services in this other niche? Any experience is great experience. So I love to hear that you're getting out and doing that. I think that's super valuable.
Thanks. Yeah, that was like exactly answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I never turn down business. Even still, if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I want to talk about this form of marketing. And even if I don't feel like it's my specialty or what I talk about normally, but I feel like I can help them, I'll just put them up a custom package and be like, okay, like we can definitely talk about that. That's not what I focus my whole group coaching program around, but why don't I make you something custom and we'll just go off, and if you trust me, then let's do this, as long as I feel I can deliver. So it's okay to work with people outside your niche, especially if you're running a business and you're like, I can help this person. I need some money. So yeah. Does anyone else have questions? We still have a couple more minutes if anyone wants to share. Priyanka?
So I had a question about like product launch and how it works, because right now I have a product and I'm launching a different one, and I kind of want to start showing up about that because it's going to be like an easier DIY thing, and I can probably make some DIY things and kind of show up on Instagram, but I still don't have the specifics yet on if I'll be able to make it, how soon I'm going to be able to launch, all of that. So with that in mind, like how soon or how late do I start? I haven't announced it yet for the same reason, but I want to kind of know if I'm not sure about the product, should I still talk about it, or that.
One of the most powerful forms of marketing is generating curiosity and generating buzz. So right now you should be giving people clues. What do you guys think is the next product we're launching? It is something you can make at your home, or giving people like an overview of the recipe or the ingredients and be like, coming up with something new. Let us know if you want to be the first to hear about it. You have to generate buzz. You have to generate interest starting right now. Otherwise, you're going to launch the product, like the DIY energy balls that you ship to people, and it's going to surprise people. They're going to be like, we didn't even know that they were working on that. So they're not going to be ready to buy yet. So I get it that you don't have a launch date. You don't know how the logistics are going to work, but you need to be getting visible by getting people curious about what you're doing.
Okay.
I think like, it feels kind of weird because you don't have everything figured out, but you do the teasers like every few days, drop a teaser, keep talking about this new project you're working on, which, maybe again, can seem silly, but like, this is exciting. If you have to be excited to finally announce it in a few months or a few weeks, whenever it happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely do some teasers and let us know so we can get excited with you.
Okay, makes sense.
Anybody else have anything that they want to share or want to say? We didn't get any time to do any sharing of wins or challenges today, but there's always a Facebook group for that if you want to share. But we still have a minute left if anyone has a last parting thought or question.
Can I share?
Yes.
Just really quick, just kind of randomly, my husband and I decided to do a 60-day Instagram challenge. Neither of us have like a really big Instagram post, like feed. He just started his account, but we just thought it would be cool to just get visible, to just like put something kind of cheap and cheerful out there for 60 days. And anyway, I found that I woke up this morning, for example, and I just had this thought of a post, like, you know, you just think about it. And it took me like, let's say 5 minutes to take a snapshot, to write a little post, and just to put it out there. And I guess I'm just saying that that's working really well. And maybe somebody might want to try that. Just put stuff out there, create content.
I'm so happy you shared that, because actually in my prep notes, I wrote, talk about Sonia and Rick, because yeah, I just find that super inspiring to just the two of them on their separate accounts committing to one post for 60 days. That is the epitome of getting visible. Like, I'm like buzzing with excitement for you, because like, it's such a good way to hold yourself accountable to that short form content daily, letting your people know what this new project that you're up to is. Actually, Sonia, can you just quickly type your Instagram into the chat box so that people can go follow you and watch you stepping into becoming a lot more visible as you launch this new project. So yeah, everyone go check out Sonia if you need some inspiration and want to see kind of what content she's talking about for 60 days in a row. I think that's a really fun challenge to embark on. So maybe some of you want to join her. And that's her husband as well. Awesome. There, you already got one new follower, Sonia. It's working. The visibility is working. And it gives us see something to talk about on this call, right? And who knows, like one of you may join Sonia's program in the future because she put herself out there today. So it's these little touch points that really get me excited, and you just never know where you're going to find that next client, that next student, that next person that wants to work with you. There we go. That's awesome. Okay, I will wrap this up here. Thank you everybody for opening up and sharing today. Special thanks to Steph for teaching us how to release our pain and tension. I am literally going to have this at my desk at all times. So that was amazing. Definitely connect with Steph on Instagram. She's very active and has great content as well. So thank you all. I will see you. Oh, I forgot to tell you. So next week's call is at the same time because Sarah Monica is already booked. So Thursday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, just like today. And then the next week after that, we're going to the new call time because that was the majority rules. So it'll be Wednesday at 8 a.m. Eastern. So I'll post the update when you're in that Facebook group. Oh, I know. Steph's like, what are you doing? Carrie, you voted for that. And you know, we'll keep touch points on it if we have to do later calls too, and put different ones in the mix. But what I was going to say was, the events within the Facebook group will always list our call time. So if you go into the Facebook group on the left column, it says events. I make an event for every single call that we have. Okay, so yeah, next week, same time. So be here Thursday, 3:30 Eastern. Have an amazing weekend, amazing Thursday, Friday, and I will see you guys soon. Good luck getting visible.